Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here, and today we are going to talk about a relatively unknown diet that Vince Gironda claimed would help you lose a pound of body fat a day, and that is the Hawaiian Reducing Diet. Throughout the golden years of bodybuilding, the pioneers of bodybuilding discovered much regarding both training and nutritional knowledge, of which we benefit today. They had a trial and error approach, self-experimenting, sometimes with marvelous results. If there was a theory worth of testing, it was put into practice, tweaked, and perfected. This rather ballsy and daring approach led Vince Gironda, the Iron Guru, to try out many different diets, which he then developed. Many of us have heard of the steak and eggs diet and the infamous 36 eggs a day diet, but many have not heard of Vince's Hawaiian Reducing Diet. So what is the Hawaiian Reducing Diet, and how can it help you build muscle? How can it help you lose body fat? Well, let's see what Vince Gironda had to say about this particular diet. Taken from a rare booklet produced by Vince titled The Vince Gironda Bulletin, The Right to Know, here is what Vince has to say about the Hawaiian Reducing Diet. The diet is simplicity in itself. It consists of red meat, chicken or fish, and papaya or pineapple 2 to 3 times per day. The secret of this combination is the high enzymatic activity produced by the papaya and the pineapple. This diet is good for 1 pound fat loss per day. Seems pretty simple, doesn't it? I have to admit though, on reading this, the idea of eating papaya and pineapple after a nice big juicy steak sounds very tempting. But the statement accompanied at the very end and claim of losing 1 pound or half a kilo of fat per day is a bit far-fetched. As always though, Vince's claims and theories always merit investigation, and in many ways, this diet is genius. Let me start by reiterating something I have talked about before. Vince always believed that diets should be tailored to the individual, and to paraphrase Vince, he would state something in the line of specific diets are needed for specific purposes. This is of paramount importance to state. Just because Vince recommended to eat, for example, 36 eggs a day, or in this case, papaya and pineapple with steak, it doesn't mean you should run off to the local exotic store and clean out the shelves of papaya and pineapple. Vince always gave his students an idea to work with, and with this diet, the idea is there. To eat papaya, pineapple, and animal protein would be delicious, but before doing so, make sure you understand the purpose of the diet and the science behind the components, and then you will understand why the diet works, and most importantly, if it is suitable for you. If it is not suitable to your needs, then don't do it. So what is the purpose of the Hawaiian Reducing Diet? Well, as the name suggests, the Hawaiian Reducing Diet is a reducing diet. Reducing, you may ask? Well, reducing actually just was a term that was used back then, at least in the golden era, to indicate that you were losing body fat. The most common effect of a reducing diet is that you will lose mostly body fat around the areas it accumulates the most, and in most people, that is the waist area. Hence, this is another reason why definition diets were called reducing diets, due to the common reduction of size around the waist area. So in simple terms, the Hawaiian Reducing Diet is for those that seek to reduce their body fat percentage and for those seeking to define their physiques so that it appears more muscular. Now let's look at the components of the diet, and firstly at the animal proteins. Whether to eat steak, fish or chicken is always a question in regards to the Hawaiian Reducing Diet. As we all know, back during the golden years, animal protein was the gold standard of choice in regards to high quality protein. Sure, there were protein powders, and these were just being developed at the time, that resembled and tasted more like sawdust. Therefore, animal proteins such as steak, eggs, fish, and chicken were more recommended and of course more palatable to the mouth. However, being a reducing diet, the Hawaiian Reducing Diet recommended the consumption of steak, fish, or chicken. As we all know, steak tends to be higher in calories than fish or chicken, of course depending on the cut. But in general, steak tends to have more fat than a fillet of fish or chicken breast. Hence, during the course of this reducing diet, one was supposed to reduce the daily calories from one's diet by choosing lower calorie animal proteins such as chicken or fish. And although steak was listed as a potential animal protein source in the diet, it was not to be eaten daily. The fact that this diet was a low-fat diet due to the consumption of mainly fish and chicken meant that eggs were out, as was dairy. Instead, consuming steak a couple of times a week ensured that muscle mass was maintained and that enough fat was consumed to ensure healthy hormone levels. Being a low-fat diet, this meant that the main energy source was carbohydrates. Yes, carbohydrates. Now, why was the papaya fruit and pineapple in this diet? Well, it goes without saying, firstly, that pineapple and papaya would provide carbohydrates as simple sugars as a form of energy in this diet. There is still that mystery to many, though, as to why they are included in the diet. Well, besides the fact that they are delicious tropical fruits, both papaya and pineapple have wonderful enzymatic properties that help in the digestion of protein. Papaya contains papain, whilst pineapple contains bromelain. These two enzymes ensure that the animal protein that was eaten in this diet was digested efficiently for maximum absorption. Go Vince! Does he ever disappoint? Papain. Papain is a proteolytic enzyme extracted from the raw fruit of the papaya plant. Proteolytic enzymes, as the name suggests, help break down the proteins from our diet into smaller protein fragments called peptides and amino acids. And this is the reason why papain is a popular ingredient as a meat tenderizer. Vince understood this and therefore included it in the Hawaiian Reducing Diet. Papain is also a popular folk remedy in many countries to reduce pain, inflammation, swelling, and in one study, it was actually shown to reduce muscle soreness post-workout. So there you go. Why bromelain? Well, bromelain, similar to papain, is also a proteolytic enzyme from the raw fruit of the pineapple plant, and therefore also helps our digestive system break down proteins into amino acids for easy absorption. Now, knowing all of this, I always ask myself why people don't use papain and bromelain nowadays. This is a question I ask myself again and again, actually, and unfortunately, most people don't read or research nutrition anymore and simply rely on what the average supplement company on the internet has to say. Back in the golden era, things were different. Because information was not as available as it is today, the bodybuilders and nutritional gurus of yesteryear were forced to research and learn about all topics, including nutrition and digestion, and therefore had a greater understanding of how the body works than the average bodybuilder nowadays. If you look at the muscle mags from the golden era, there are in fact countless of advertisements and articles and supplements all promoting the consumption of both bromelain and papain. Now, where can you actually get papain and bromelain? Well, if you wish to try the Hawaiian Reducing Diet, you probably will not need to supplement with it because papain and bromelain, this is already found in the diet itself in the papaya and pineapple, as I explained earlier. But for those that wish to improve the digestive process and absorption of nutrients from their diet, regardless as to whether you are on the Hawaiian Reducing Diet, you could easily supplement, for example, with NSP Nutrition's Digestive Enzyme Complex, which contains papain and bromelain. Of course, many digestive enzyme complexes also contain papain and bromelain. Now, during the course of following the Hawaiian Reducing Diet, Vince recommends to eat an animal protein, that is fish, chicken, or red meat, with papaya and or pineapple 2 to 3 times a day. As you can see, if you wanted to follow the Hawaiian Reducing Diet, that's a pretty vague statement. It doesn't really, tell you a lot of information. As with preparation with any diet you may wish to try, it is important to calculate your caloric intake on your current diet and the caloric intake you need to maintain your body weight. This will of course allow you to compare whether you are already consuming too much or too little calories per day, and at least it gives you a starting point. Just because Vince states you need to do X and Y, it doesn't mean you have to do exactly as he said. You have your own mind, so think. You're an individual, so adapt the diet to suit your needs. Once you have calculated your calories per day to maintain your body weight, there are 1,000 apps, by the way, for this nowadays. You should reduce the calories per day to ensure body fat reduction if that indeed is your purpose for doing this diet, which is what it should be used for. Start with a reduction of at least 200 to 250 calories daily and go from there. Eating only twice a day may be fine for some, and it may be torture for others. So again, organize your meals so that they suit you. This means calculating the macros for a serving of each animal protein and for a serving of each of papaya and or pineapple, and then creating your own meal plan based on the caloric intake you need to ensure a caloric deficit. Of course, you don't just have to stick to those 5 simple foods of red meat, fish, chicken, papaya, and pineapple. How boring. I mean, I think that's pretty boring. You can also enjoy fresh vegetables and fruits if you wish, as this will ensure a great balance in your diet. Just again, ensure that you meet your caloric needs, and this will make this diet both enjoyable and result producing. Now to Vince's statement as to whether one will lose a pound of fat daily. This, I have to admit, is very unlikely. As I said, although I think Vince was a genius, his claims were at times exaggerated. You need to burn 3,500 calories a day to lose 1 pound of body fat a day. And you need anywhere between 2,000 to 2,500 calories in a day if you are doing your normal routine activities. To lose a pound of fat, therefore, you would need to starve yourself the whole day and exercise as much as to lose the remaining 1,000 to 1,500 calories or so. This is absolute torture, and I think it's practically just not possible, and definitely not healthy in my opinion, both for your own body and your mind. A healthy and sustainable rate of fat loss for the average person is just 1 to 2 pounds per week, not per day. Even morbidly obese patients who are prescribed a very low-calorie diet, which consists of meal supplements of 800 or fewer calories per day, do not lose a pound of fat per day. Instead, they usually lose an average of 3 to 5 pounds a week. They're put on these diets to address immediate health concerns related to their size, but are kept on them for no longer than 12 weeks because of the potential health risks of losing weight too quickly. Yes, there are potential health risks if you lose weight too quickly. I would therefore just state, a more realistic goal in my mind of 1 to 2 pounds of fat loss per week. That's more achievable. Following these recommendations, you could lose anywhere, of course, between 5 to 10 pounds in 1 month. And I'm sure that such a fat loss would certainly be transformative. So just make sure you give it time and set realistic goals. So now that you have learnt about the Hawaiian Reducing Diet, if you decide to try it, we would love to hear from your experience. Now, of course, that summertime is here and it's definitely time to get in shape. It might be one of Vince's most enjoyable diets to try out. So let me know what you think in the comment section. I do hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please again leave your comments in the comment section and subscribe if you haven't done so. That's it from me. This is the Golden Era Bookworm saying bye for now. Now, if you're interested in learning more about Vince Gironda's approach to bodybuilding, his principles, and all these tips of wisdom that he has, I mean, there's so much stuff that probably hasn't been proven by science, and it will take science to prove or disprove Vince. But to be honest, these 3 books, I believe, which I call the Classic Physique Bundle, are the best books that Vince ever came out with. And they, of course, are the Wild Physique, the Master Series, and the Pro Series. Have a look at it this way. The Wild Physique, I believe, is like the ABCs of Vince Gironda's principles to bodybuilding. He teaches you the exercises and his principles. But how do you put them together? Well, the Master Series is a 14-month program of using all of these principles, all of the diets that Vince came out with, all of the exercises. And believe me, it's a brilliant, brilliant program. Many people have used it. I know personally a lot of bodybuilders that have actually used it and made fantastic results with it. And of course, the Pro Series was a book that he came out with later on, specially targeted for getting into competition. It's just these three books, as I call it, the classic physique bundle, Vince's best work, and available, of course, at www.goldenerabookworm.com. Now, the Pro Series of Bodybuilding, which was targeted for professional bodybuilders, contains 6 programs, each of which go for 2 months each. So it's a whole year, again, in preparation for competition. Need a bodybuilding poster for your gym or office? Then check out Ironman Magazine archive.smugmug.com for the highest quality posters on the planet. Scroll through the galleries of all the legends, including greats such as Arnold, Frank Zane, Sergio Oliva, Serge Nubret, Tom Platz, and Larry Scott, and much, much more, and select your poster now. To support your favorite YouTube channel, please visit teespring.com/stores/goldenerabookworm for merchandise, including t-shirts, hoodies, face masks, phone cases, and much, much more. Once again, at teespring.com/stores/goldenerabookworm. To take full advantage of my collaborations, use code GEB20 with NSPnutrition.com and VinceGironda.com, as well as code BOOKWORM12 at OSL.com for a discount at checkout.